Welcome to Fast Politics, Andy Levy.
Thank you, Molly. Try not to do something weird. Anyway, I'm here with New York Times bestselling author Molly Jong-Fast. So, what's up with that, Molly?
Well, we were getting ready to record. By the way, I'm in Chicago. If I don't sound amazing, Jesse is probably going to kill me later. But I did get a call from my editor that my book, How to Lose Your Mother, available in many places, is on the New York Times bestseller list. And, writing is like what I've done my whole life. So to be on the New York Times bestseller list, it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's amazing,
yeah.
especially for a
So
book that's based on a sitcom that went off the air like 10 years ago.
it's a book based on a meme.
Right.
It's not a sitcom. It's a meme. It's a meme
Okay.
book. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a meme book. Speaking of meme books, I have a whole thesis and I'd like to shop it to you and our listeners. And you tell me
Okay.
if you think that I'm wrong. I'm open to being wrong because now I'm a New York Times bestselling author. So I have that self-esteem buttress that I can be
Sure.
wrong.
Sure.
Last week, despite the fact that Trump world sort of spun it in many different ways, Trump did fight with Elon, the guy who has all our data. Then Elon called him a pedo. Then Trump called him a drug addict. Then Elon said maybe he shouldn't have tweeted all that stuff. That was this week. And also Trump world lost in court and Trump, the trade war, there are no 90 deals in 90 days. Everything is just sort of puttering along. And then there's also somehow we're going to war with Iran. Like it just seems like all of this sort of last week, you could still blur your eyes and be like, Trump 2.0 is more organized than Trump 1.0. But now, all of a sudden, like that illusion is gone. And around that same time, Donald Trump decides that he should send the National Guard in to Los Angeles. Probably a
Well,
coincidence, right?
I don't know if it's a coincidence. Look, I am, unlike you and Donald Trump, I am not a New York Times bestselling author. So I feel kind of like the odd man out in this discussion. But I think two things can be true, as they say. I think one is the timing of this is I think you're onto something there. Like I do think that it hasn't been a great couple weeks for Donald Trump
Right.
by a lot of metrics. So his bread and butter is always going to be, for his base, it's going to be going after brown people and going after black
Right.
people, et
Right.
cetera. So yeah, I think the timing, if it's coincidental, it's a very, I guess, I don't want to say it's a good coincidence for Donald Trump, but it's the kind of thing that
Right.
it may be coincidental that it's a coincidence, I think is what I'm trying
Right.
to say. But we know this is what Stephen Miller has wanted from day one. And they may have just seen, with regard to the timing, well, this happened. And then they said, okay, let's do what we've been wanting to do. Let's send in the shock troops. Let's send in the jackbooted thugs. Let's send in the National Guard, the Marines. I'm worried that we're going to be fighting a two-front war, one in Tehran and one at the Grove. And that usually doesn't go
Okay.
well.
Full disclosure, I was at the Grove yesterday. There is no war at the Grove. Now, that said, it's a
Well,
weird little mall.
it is a weird little
And
mall. Yeah.
it's a weird little mall. Like, what
Yeah.
I love about LA is there are so many weird little spots that make no sense. I did nearly get hit by a trolley. Why the
At the Grove?
fuck is there a trolley
The
at the
trolley
Grove?
that
Yeah,
goes like 4
there's a
miles an
trolley.
hour.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yep.
you can
Yeah.
still, if you're tired enough, you can wander in there. So, look, I was in LA till about 2 hours ago, and I think,
Did you get burned
it's
in the
oh,
fires?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's mayhem and
Yeah.
madness. No, it's
Yeah.
totally fine. There's like a
Of
small
course.
area where people are protesting. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. I didn't see any smoke. It's not what the far right wants you to think it is. Now, that is why the far right has, and there's a really good article about this in Wired and in the Times. They're spreading all these fake AI generated videos.
Right.
So AI generated videos, old videos saying that like Los Angeles is a hellscape. I would think they would want Los Angeles to be a hellscape. I guess they do want Los Angeles
They
to be a
do.
hellscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they want all those pictures to be real. We've got they're even playing the old hits, the palette of bricks.
Right. The
Which I
bricks.
think,
That's right.
I don't
Bring
remember
out the
what year it
bricks
was that first topped the chart, but they're bringing it back. But yeah, look, I lived in LA for 10 years. I have a lot of friends in LA. nobody in LA is talking about the
No,
city being on fire or there being
no.
riots all over in the streets. That stuff is simply just not happening, and we're being lied to for a
Yeah,
change by the Trump
yeah.
administration and right-wing media. If you want to talk about the violence is very one-sided, and it ain't
And
coming from the protesters.
yeah, well, I think I actually have a friend who was protesting in New York, and she was telling me that the ICE agents are trying to get the protesters to act out. Like, there's
Sure.
clearly a want here for escalation, but it's not necessarily on the protester side. That said, you can't be held responsible for, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people, and we've seen this with every protest, that there are protesters who do stuff that they're not supposed to do. So I,
Sure.
you don't want to like blanket say that
No, no.
everyone's behaving well.
Sure. No, someone is always going to start a drum circle, and that is
Yeah.
reprehensible and should not be tolerated in the year 2025.
That's
But there's
right.
going to be stuff like that, and you can't tar the whole of the protest because somebody has a bongo. It's just not fair. And by the same token, you see, the media, as people have pointed out, the media love to show cars on fire. That is
They
like
do. They
they
do.
cannot get enough of a car being on fire. So there could be one car on fire, and we have no idea how it happened, but we are going to see that image 1,000 goddamn times. And there's going to be a lot of hand wringing about the
Yeah.
violence because a car in America is sacred, whereas the
That's
lives
right.
of individuals, not so much, Molly.
Not so much. Not so
Yeah,
much. No.
yeah.
Yes, that's right. Don't burn cars because cars are people. Let me ask you a question. Now that Trump and Elon have broken up, is it still a federal crime to hurt a Tesla, or has that been rescinded?
I mean, that's a good question. And in LA, it seems to be that the protesters are going after the Waymo
Yes.
vehicles because all these
'Cause why not?
self-driving cars have cameras all over them, and the police and law enforcement and the feds are using them to surveil.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out, yeah, do you think is Elon, does he have mixed feelings about this? Is he like upset that they're going after cars, but on the other hand, it's these Google cars like that are competitors to Tesla? This is a tough one to judge. Trump said he was selling or he was getting rid of his Tesla. Didn't he say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Which doesn't
He
mean he
did say he
did.
was getting rid of his he told a reporter in the West Wing when he was doing one of his many, many sprays or, whatever it's called, that he is selling his red Tesla. Now, let's just talk about this sort of Musk trying to retrench himself
Yeah,
efforts, okay?
yeah.
So, by the way, the polling on the BBB is the big, bad, beautiful, buxom bill is bad, 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 real bad. You want to know how
Yeah.
bad it is?
How bad is it?
I'll tell you how bad it is. It's bad, bad, bad. I mean, if I were polling that badly, it's like Black Death and then the BBB. Big beautiful bill, 2-1 Americans oppose it. Independents are 3-1 negative on it. BBB, bad, bad, bad. They should have
Not
called it something else.
Yeah. Well, so I guess the people are on Elon's side on that one because he was going after the BBB.
He was going after it because he wanted it to give him credit so that his car company could do well, not because he gives a
Right.
fuck about the deficit,
Right.
which I think is
Which, by the
important.
way, is the same reason he's apologizing to Trump. I, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean the federal contracts between, SpaceX and the favors he needs for Tesla. I mean, I have got to think that this, pseudo apology or halfway apology that he did was spurred on by the boards of some of his various companies, by the Tesla board, by the people at SpaceX who were like, dude, if the federal government cancels SpaceX contracts, we're out of business. I mean, they can't stay in business without that.
Let's just talk for a second about this Elon apology tour. So he had an early morning tweet on Wednesday, which is either today, yesterday, or 5 years ago. And in it, he said he regretted going, quote, too far in criticizing President Trump. I assume that's the pedo tweet. but it could have been something else. Love this administration. Musk's effort, and I mean that with all the disdain in the world, that's irony, or is it sarcasm? It's sarcasm. Musk's efforts to make amends began on Friday when he spoke by phone with White House Chief of Staff, this is reporting from Axios, Susie Wiles, and Vice President Vance, three people familiar with the discussion said. So one of that's Trump, Vance, and Susie told Axios that Musk called them. It matters. Why does it matter? It's American democracy is going to die. It's Musk is trying to get Trump to take him back. And then Musk fears Trump's beautiful bill will add trillions to the federal deficit. Do you think he really fears that? I don't think he gives a fuck.
I don't think, no. He fears it will add money to his deficit.
Yes.
Not to the federal deficit. No, I don't believe for a second he gives a shit about that. I mean, I was talking to, I was talking to Essie Cupp last week on my podcast, As the World Churns, available wherever you get your podcasts, also on YouTube.
Tell me more.
And she asked me who I thought had more to lose in the Musk-Trump war. And I said, to me, it was obviously Musk. I mean, Trump doesn't need Musk anymore. This is separate, by the way, from the Republican Party maybe needing Musk, because it was his money that is fueling a lot of the that is filling a lot of their election coffers. But Trump, at least as of today, isn't running for office again. So he personally doesn't need Elon, really, and he does not give a shit about the Republican Party. We know that. So telling Trump he needs Elon because Elon is good for the Republican Party, Trump doesn't understand that. But Elon, as we've been talking about, Elon needs Trump because his entire livelihood is dependent on taxpayer money, on federal funding. So it's not really, if you asked me which one of them was going to blink, I would have said, of course it's going to be Musk. He has to.
So that's the question. Now, there is the fact that some of the companies that Elon has, and like SpaceX and Starlink, there's no other company that necessarily does. I mean, other companies could catch up, but there'll be a lag.
Right.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I've certainly read pieces that say, and again, this is really this is like internet, this is like foreign policy stuff. It's just a little bit out of my skill set. So I don't know what what satellite manufacturing looks like in other countries. I don't know what the companies are, but there definitely is. I don't think Elon can be, I don't know that he can lose all those government contracts right now, but he certainly can lose like EV credits, and Tesla's super overvalued, right? Everyone's, that's a sort of known. So I do think Elon is so over leveraged, between X. He's very rich, but he's very leveraged.
Sure.
So, there could be the margin call from hell there. I just don't know enough about his finances, but I certainly know that the fact that he's trying to get back into Trump world, you don't do that. Like, if things are going great, it seems hard for me to imagine that he's going to go back and eat crow.
Yeah. And look, I think, Starlink may be almost a one-of-a-kind thing now with satellite Wi-Fi and or satellite internet, whatever, and all of that. But again, it is pretty wholly dependent on government contracts, not just ours, other governments as well. And the thing is, if Trump decides he's going to destroy Elon, damn well he's going to tell other countries to get rid of their Starlink systems or to not invest in future ones. And that's really, like you said, they may be the only, player in town right now. That doesn't mean they always will be. And they need these future contracts to keep growing as a company, because that's all that Wall Street, et cetera, cares about is growth. So I think that's where, and the same goes for SpaceX. SpaceX, yes, they're kind of, Bezos has his own little penis replacement thing going on, but SpaceX is really the only player in the game. But they're a player in the game, again, because of the government contracts, because of contracting with NASA and things like that. So you yank all of those and you can say, well, but no one else is doing what SpaceX is doing. but SpaceX ain't going to be doing that if it's just
Right.
dependent on the
Right.
private sector right now.
Right. I mean, I think this is a real, both of these men are not in great situations,
No.
and that's okay. That's
Yes.
okay with me. I'm good with that. So I just don't understand why there's not more discourse about this. So I'm going to make you talk with me about it. Uh,
Just about your book
BBB,
being a New York Times bestseller.
no, but it
Okay.
is. I'm very excited. But
Okay.
the BBB is this bill that got through the House, and then you had all these House members being like, "I didn't really know what was in it. I just voted for it." Marjorie Taylor Greene, all these people voted for it, and it passed by one vote. Okay, so now it's going through the Senate. It's wildly unpopular. You have
Mhm.
Elon tweeting about it still, and I just wonder, like, why are Democrats not getting, like Rand Paul's already a no. So we know
Right.
Rand Paul's a no.
Right.
And, that you only need like three more. Okay. And we have like Bill Cassidy, the senator from Louisiana, who's a doctor and should know better. He made a deal with RFK Jr., where RFK Jr. said, I'm not going, don't worry. I love vaccines. I just have been saying that they cause terrible diseases. So he fired the whole vaccine board and he's going to replace them with new, better MAGA doctors. Okay.
Right.
Maybe. Or just not,
Or
like
not.
Dr.
Yeah.
Oz. Right.
Yeah.
And Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
And so this is a guy who's really been rolled. Okay. So I just don't understand why Schumer is not out there whipping votes against this bill. Like, why? Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. If
I'm
I
just
were the Senate
right.
minority leader, I'd be out
Right.
there being like, look, man, this is your
Right.
legacy.
But you can't possibly expect that Chuck Schumer would do that. I mean, that's what I'm laughing at is the idea of Chuck Schumer doing that.
Well, he should be doing it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to tell you.
Yes, there's a whole laundry list of things he should have been doing and should be doing and should do in the future. And he hasn't really checked off any of them as far as I can tell. And you're right. Look, the Democrats, you started your question by saying why are Democrats? And I thought you were going to stop there. Like I didn't realize this was going to be about something specific because the question I'm always asking is why are Democrats? Because it's so frustrating. It's just the fact that there's only like a handful of elected Dems who understand what is going on right now in this country. There are
Yeah.
the people like Chuck Schumer who will say that they understand, but they won't act like they understand.
Yeah.
And as many people have said, like we just spent a whole election warning about what was going to happen to democracy under Trump 2.0.
Right, right, right.
And then as soon as he got elected, the Democrats acted like they hadn't been running on that. So
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I think, putting your faith in Chuck Schumer, it's like seeing a bowl on the table with popcorn in it and just assuming it must be, fresh new popcorn for no reason at all, and then eating it and getting botulism and dying. I that was the
That went
most
very,
torture. It went
yes,
no. I had no
yes.
idea where it was going.
Botulism and dying.
As I was saying it, I had no idea where it was going.
Andy Levy. Andy Levy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Always a pleasure, Molly. Always a pleasure to
Um,
talk to a New York Times bestselling author.